Zachariah and his wife Elizabeth were righteous in the eyes of God. They prayed and they followed God's words faithfully. They were good people and loved the Lord, so we would think that their lives would be blessed and filled with joy. But they had no children, and both Zachariah and Elizabeth were old. Imagine the many times that this husband and wife prayed together for a child of their own to love and raise, for someone to carry on the family name. Day after day, week after week, year after year, they prayed, but it seemed that their prayers were unheard. As part of the Abijah division of the tribe of Levi, Zechariah would spend 2 weeks every year in the Lord's service at the temple in Jerusalem. On this particular day, Zechariah was chosen to make the incense offering in the temple. The incense offering would be made just outside of the Holy of Holies, and as the smoke from the incense offering would rise, it was believed that the people's prayers would also rise to God and be heard. It is here in this moment that the angel Gabriel appears to Zechariah to tell him that his and Elizabeth's prayers for a child have been heard and will be answered. Zechariah was a Levite priest. He knew the scriptures. He knew the story of Abraham and Sarah conceiving in their old age. He knew of God's intervention for the conception in the lives of Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob and Rachel, Samuel's parents, and Samson's parents. In his head, Zechariah knew that with God, nothing would be impossible. But in his heart, he struggled to believe. He feared to hope. Could it be that in his old age, God would bless Elizabeth and him with a son? Not just any son, but a son who would be consecrated to God from his very conception, a son that would come in the spirit and power of Elijah. Could it be that his son would be the forerunner to the Messiah? So, as we often do, Zechariah asked Gabriel, "How shall I know this?" He knew the scriptures, but his heart struggled. And so Zechariah, instead of trusting, seeks for Gabriel to provide some proof for him. Now, when angels were sent with a message, they would also provide a sign to help the listener accept their message. Far from a punishment, Gabriel provides a sign for Zechariah to aid him in his discernment. Gabriel gives Zechariah the space to ponder God's plan, the silence to listen and understand. This sign would have had meaning for Zechariah. Zechariah would have recalled Ezekiel chapter 3, where God silenced Ezekiel for a time in preparation for his prophetic call. God made Zechariah mute until the appointed time when he would be called to speak God's words. Similarly, Gabriel provided Zechariah with a period of intentional silence that would end when Zechariah proclaimed that his and Elizabeth's son would be named John. We may question whether Zechariah's experience is relevant to our lives today. Like Zechariah, we know and understand many aspects of our Catholic faith. We hear the scripture proclaimed at Mass. We learn about our faith and about scripture. However, when the exterior circumstances of our daily lives do not fall neatly into our plans and expectations, we're challenged to draw closer to God in trust and to reach beyond our head knowledge to a heart that knows and trusts God fully. Maybe we've been praying about a situation in life, a direction that we're discerning, a relationship that's shattered. Maybe we've been praying for weeks or months or even years, and our hearts may be tempted to think it's impossible. But this Advent, God calls us to trust and to hope. Want to know what that looks like? Look to Zechariah's wife Elizabeth. Elizabeth was not visited by Gabriel, but she trusted God, and she trusted his plan for her. Let the words of Elizabeth penetrate our hearts and fill us with renewed faith in God's loving plan for our lives. When she became pregnant with John the Baptist, Elizabeth said, "So has the Lord done for me at a time that he has seen fit to take away my disgrace before others." God has a plan for our lives too. When we trust in God and remain faithful, we will see in God's time how everything has worked for our good and for His glory.